Thanks for coming to the Twitter Spaces. I'm here with Bert from the Kwenta team. We're going to be talking about everything they've been doing in their V2. So yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Bert. I've been looking forward to this. Looking forward to this. I'm glad we got it on the schedule finally.
Yeah, great. Happy to be here. I'm actually on vacation right now, so I'm going to be extra relaxed. Expect this to be a very casual conversation. Going to pour myself a glass of wine while we chat. So
yeah, have at it. That's what vacation's for. I'm on my first week of vacation. I'm not at the beach yet.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
are you heading out there pretty soon?
Yeah, we're gonna go see some old friends. Some of our closest friends for New Year's. We're all gonna meet up at one of their houses. They live on the coast, so, or well, they live on an island, but
Well,
they
then
live by
it's
the
all
beach.
coast.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's cool that we get the chance to go see them. So, I miss living on the beach, having lived on one for 7 years. It's its own style of fun.
Oh yeah, me too. It's just I used to live in downtown San Francisco, and that's not like right on the beach, right? But you can go take a jog to the beach, and now I miss that part of it, but I also don't miss spending like $2,000 for a living room. You know how it is.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so just as a kind of early alpha for everyone is here. So Quinta is sponsoring a giveaway. So what it's going to be is that 10 winners can win one Quinta each. You got to write a post within the next 24 hours, a thread about Perps V2, which we'll talk about today. And then in 24 hours, we'll pick the 10 best winners or the 10 best threads. And then those people who write those threads will each win one Quinta. So you get a head start if you're listening right now. So
Yeah, and
just wanted to
just
put that out there.
to let you guys know, since it's a kind of intimate crowd right now, I know a lot of the people in here, so good to see you guys. I'll just give you guys the alpha. That 24-hour limitation on there is because in the next 24 hours, we expect Perps V2 to actually be launched. So if you're, listening to this conversation and you're not quite sure what to say, don't worry. I will be posting a thread within the next 24 hours that you can piggyback on or do whatever you want. We're just kind of trying to get the word spread. And also what we want to do is make sure that people who are in here who might be traders, who might be interested in trying Kwenta and actually earning trading rewards have something to start with, right? So that's really what the goal of this is. So hopefully, right now we're at right now we're at less than 10 people. So hopefully everybody in here gets a Kwenta. Feel free to show this to all your friends as well. Get them in here. We'll have a good time.
Yeah, and I've got snapshots going throughout it. So just you guys are obviously the first ones in the first snapshot. So that's helpful for your case. Awesome. I you never really get that level of alpha at the very beginning. I didn't want to steal your thunder, so I didn't want to say anything about that. But yeah, that's pretty exciting. Being so close to launch after all the hard work.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I would like it to launch right now, but we got people testing. We got people still working on a couple things, so want to make sure the product gets out there and it's not going to break immediately for everybody. But I'm glad everything could come out before the end of the year, give people a chance to hang out and try it out and kind of see what the next level is for Kwenta and synthetics.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a smart approach, anyways. There's an old saying: if you don't have time to do it right, when will you have time to do it again? So it's better that you delay it and make sure everything works as flawlessly as you need it to. So,
Well,
all right. So
let's get right
yeah,
into it.
yeah. So I was going to say, if you want to go ahead and give your background, kind of, and then how you kind of got on the team. I think you got a pretty cool story. And then what your current role with Quinta is.
All right. Well, my name is Bert Rock, and I think most people listening that I see probably know me, but for those who might listen later or those who don't, um, I am currently working with Kwenta as Marketing DAO PM. Now, what that means is it's a little bit of a hybrid between a traditional marketing role and really a community management role, right? My job is to kind of rally the community to solve marketing problems for Kwenta. So one of the ways that I'm doing that I would like everybody to know about is I currently have a proposal going to start a grants council. It hasn't been passed yet, so if you're familiar with grants councils, I know some people here might be real deep in Web3 and kind of know how these organizations work. Feel free to pop into the Quenta Discord and kind of give your experience, give your feedback. But what we'd really like to do is kind of fund community-driven projects and community-driven initiatives to help bring Quenta to market, promote Quenta, and then also build things on top of Quenta that help people kind of share and add a social experience to their trading. Like one of the first things that the marketing DAO worked on was having a PNL graphic designed. So if you go to Kwenta right now, if you open a trade, you can actually share your PNL, and that was one of the things that the marketing DAO accomplished. So it gives you a little idea of kind of what my role is and what I'm here to do. Other than that, I'm, kind of got my fingers all over the Web3 space. I'm on the Spartan Council. So the Spartan Council is kind of the group that for Synthetics, which is our liquidity provider, we set all the protocol parameters and kind of decide the direction on behalf of the community for the Synthetics protocol. So this is going to be my last epic on Spartan Council, but it's been a great experience, and just really happy to be so involved in all this. My personal kind of crypto journey has been, a lot of high leverage trading and losing everything. So that's kind of what brought me to Kwenta in the first place. I like to tell people this is my third time losing everything in crypto because, I lost everything first on MT Gox around the same time everybody else did. And then in 2016, 2017, I got back into it and lost everything again in, investing in risky ICOs and things that never panned out. And I just, happened to keep into it because I thought that crypto was like a really interesting idea. And despite the fact that it took me quite a while to see any success in my investments, I just thought the idea of taking the traditional financial world and bringing it to this place where it could be built and kind of directed and owned by a community rather than some kind of shadowy company out there. I thought that was a worthwhile goal. So that's kind of why I've continued to this day. And I have no real, other than being a degenerate trader, I have no real skills. I've just picked up everything just by kind of getting my hands dirty. I love trading options. I love trading futures and derivatives. So I just got involved with that by putting some money on the line and trying it.
Yeah, it's funny how losing a whole lot can really, like show you where you want to get to, or you know what I mean, and help you develop. So, but you should, this is, I'm going to say it for you. This is the last time that you're going to lose everything instead of the third time. This time you're going to crush it. So,
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I mean, right now, life is good, but I like to keep it real because I think a lot of people come into investment and trading thinking that, there's a lot of people out there who are willing to sell you a system or some kind of sure thing, right? But that's not really how it works. You have to keep in mind all of these financial products, especially when you're doing derivatives trading, they have a lot of different use cases and they can be used in very low risk or very high risk ways, right? So if you go into things and you take a bunch of high risk trades, like you might lose money. So don't listen to anybody who tells you that there's a surefire way to make money trading or any of this stuff. Like sometimes what you have to do is just understand that these things are risky. They take time to learn, and size appropriately. Don't put all your money into something extremely risky unless you're really ready for that. But I have a good time doing it, so that's where I'm at.
yeah, it's good advice though. People got to only do what you can afford and what you understand. So, and that's like the big thing, right? We always say, what can you afford? But, it's more about do what you understand as well, have that knowledge base. Um, cool. Yeah. All right. So everything that Quinta's done, right? So you guys made the transition to OP, right over to Optimism. How's that like whole transition been for you? Have what made Optimism so like perfect for you guys?
Well, there are kind of two answers to that, and the real answer is it hasn't been perfect, right? It's been very challenging because as much as L2s are kind of an important way to bring derivatives to people, I mean, you really can't trade derivatives on L1, right? The block times are too slow, it's too expensive, um, and you really just don't have the same infrastructure that you can build on an L2 that's much lower latency, much higher speed, much lower cost. So in a way, transitioning to the Optimism L2 has enabled everything that Kwenta does. Before that, it was really just, it was part of synthetics, and there was spot trading that was relatively expensive, kind of a proof of concept to get these synthetic assets, which are, if you're not familiar with synthetic assets, it's an asset that is um, pegged to another real world asset without being actually backed by that. So, like synthetic Ethereum is pegged to the price of Ethereum, but it's not actually backed by Ethereum. Um, so, really, transitioning to L2 is what made leverage trading and these types of things possible. You see other things like Lyra has opened up and made it possible to buy and sell options, which enables a lot of really interesting use cases. And all of that only became possible when you start moving to L2s. Now, the challenge, of course, has been that as different L2s have popped up, there's a little bit of a competitive atmosphere there, and liquidity fragments a bit. So we've really been trying to figure out what the best way is to make sure we can expand from just Optimism to ideally Optimism, Arbitrum, and maybe somewhere else in the future. I think given our focus on kind of Ethereum level security, Arbitrum is probably the first place you're going to see people trying to push to from Optimism. But ideally, what we would like to be able to offer is kind of a kind of obfuscating which chain you're even on, right? Where you can just come on and go to Kwenta, or I know a lot of other decentralized exchanges have the same view, where you can just go to the decentralized exchange, not really worry about where your money is, and everything will happen for you on the back end, the bridging, um, or whatever needs to happen. So that's kind of been a a double-edged sword there, where there have been there's been a lot of competition from protocols on Arbitrum. We're seeing GMX and DopeX and things like that really have their time in the sun. But I think in general, once everybody's able to kind of move between layers, you're really going to see that what Synthetics has built and what we're building over here on Optimism is actually some of the best technology in the space. And it's kind of the best products for traders that are really geared toward trading.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see some of the things that you've been able to implement since moving over to that L2, right? So um, let's talk about some of those things. All right, so kind of what did you, because you guys had a very, all right, well, I guess we'll kind of start here, right? So you guys had a pretty successful beta run, right? The numbers show it with the total, billions in volume and fees and the trades and unique traders. All right, what happened like during the beta? What problems did you guys identify in the beta that you're solving with V2?
All right. Well, first, I'm really glad to hear you think the beta was successful, because I actually would agree. We're seeing billions in overall volume, which is great. We're seeing traders just kind of rise. Some of that is fueled by this Optimism Quest, which is like a little promotional NFT thing, and so we're seeing quite a bit of growth from there. But I'm able to really dig into the stats and see that actually people are coming in, people are trading, um, and and generally we've seen a lot of really positive response to the idea of the product. Now, the issue ends up being that since we're really focused on not using any kind of centralized infrastructure, um, the fees end up being very high. Now, the reason for this is because if you look at a project like GMX, what they're doing to get fees low is they're using a centralized oracle that can give you a very, very precise price with very, very low latency, which is exactly what you need in order to take fees lower. You need the price that people are getting to be as close as possible to the real price, right? Otherwise, you have to make up the difference in fees. So since we didn't want to go the route of using kind of this centralized infrastructure, we were kind of stuck showing this proof of concept to people in a way that really a lot of different trading strategies um, don't allow you to actually trade at all if you're looking at fees that are, in the 30, 40, 50 basis point range. High frequency trading, sometimes you're only looking for a 30 or 40 basis point move. So it basically shuts out all high frequency traders. And then we also had funding rate arbitrage was very important for keeping the risk down for our liquidity providers. Basically, what this means is every time somebody takes a part of the trade, synthetics takes the other part of the trade, right? So if somebody's going long, then synthetics would be short. What you actually want is for somebody to go long and then another trader to go short. That way, the liquidity provider is actually neutral and they're just collecting the fees without taking any of that risk. So, in order to do this, to accomplish this, you need some kind of incentive when one person goes long to convince another person to go short. And the funding rate system that we had wasn't really accomplishing that, right? We saw a lot of very kind of unbalanced skew. And so we were having a hard time scaling. We couldn't raise the open interest caps because it was going to put a lot of risk on the synthetic stakers. And so that's another problem that we set out to accomplish with B2.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think you guys have a pretty dope model too with what you guys were able to implement here. So let's talk a little bit about that, right? So a bunch of the big problems that you guys solved with all this are like reducing fees, your funding rates, the use cases have expanded to builders. You got just a range of assets and a bunch of different other things. So let's kind of dive into a few of those things, right? So your use of oracles, right? You guys are, right, if I'm not mistaken, the first to do this type of oracle like pull model, right?
We're actually not the first to use a poll oracle.
Yeah, no,
We are the first on Ethereum to use this poll oracle in a way that's decentralized. If you
yes,
look at
okay,
the GMX oracle that I was talking about earlier, that is a poll-based oracle, but it's a centralized version of it, right?
yeah,
And one of the things that's really exciting for us is that we're using Pith oracles, and Pith, if you're not familiar, is they're an oracle provider on Solana, and so they have their own chain. I believe it's called PithNet. It's basically a Solana fork where they publish these prices. It's very low latency. It is decentralized. It's maybe not quite as decentralized as some Ethereum maxis might want, right? But it's kind of the best that anybody has at the moment that still can be considered decentralized. But we are working with Chainlink. So Chainlink probably in the first month of the year. I hate to give dates for them because, you know, you never can be sure. They're not really
yeah,
providing us dates. So consider this a guess. Don't consider me giving an actual, you know, an actual date for Chainlink, but probably in the first month of the year, maybe the first 2 months of the year, Chainlink is actually going to come out with their on-demand Oracle, which is a pull-based Oracle. And we're going to be the first project, Synthetics will anyway, and Kwenta will be building on top of that. We're going to be the first project to actually trial this Oracle, and it'll be specifically built for perps on Ethereum. So that's kind of an exciting development, but we can actually still, accomplish our goals right now by using these Pith oracles. So we're really grateful to have this option. Pith just started offering Oracle feeds on Optimism. So that's why all of a sudden this opportunity became available to us. And so we jumped on that chance so that we could kind of implement this.
Yeah. Well, I think that's awesome because I mean, how much? Because you're able to by use of this, right? That's part. That's contributing. Is that the direct reason for the 80% reduction in reduced fees, or is that just one of the many reasons that you guys are able to reduce the fees so much?
It's the primary reason. So the way this works, a traditional Oracle, which would be a push Oracle, a push Oracle is like what Chainlink is using now. So the idea is Chainlink has a price. They push that price to the chain, and it gets included in a block. And you're going to read that price. Now the issue here is that by the time you're able to read that price on chain, it's old already. So that's why you need high fees to compensate for the deviation, because it's not going to be exactly what the price is now. A pull Oracle allows us to go, hey, we're going to request a price, and we're actually going to include it with this order. So the prices are going to be a lot closer to the real kind of order book price that you would see, which is what you want for a synthetic asset. Now, the other thing that allows us to lower fees is delayed orders. So we have something called next price orders right now that you can use on isolated margin, but it's a little bit of a bad UX because it can take up to 20 minutes for a Chainlink Oracle to update right now, which means that if you put in a next price order, which is our current delayed order, it could take 20 minutes to fill. And that's not really ideal. Most traders don't want to come in and press the trade button and have their trades fill in 20 minutes. So this actually, this Pith Oracle allows us to take this time down to just a few seconds. So I believe the maximum is going to be 15 seconds. We're hoping to get that a little bit lower, but it's just a few seconds now to use this delayed order. And the reason the delayed order allows us to lower fees is because you can't actually front run or exploit something that you need to predict, right? Front running requires that you already know the price or where the price is going to go, and then you trade based on that. If it's a price that's a few seconds in the future, you don't actually know what that price is going to be. So it eliminates that risk for the synthetics liquidity providers and allows us to offer much, much lower fees because we don't have to compensate for all of that.
Yeah, awesome. And then that's what you use. That's how you guys get your drift skew model for the funding rates, right? Through the oracles as well.
Yeah. So the funding rates are kind of a really interesting design in V2. V1, the way it works is it's actually just a direct relationship between longs and shorts. So if everybody's long, the funding rate is going to be pushed high, and if everybody's short, the funding rate will pay short, or will pay longs. Excuse me. So it just kind of goes in either direction right now, and it changes instantly. So if somebody places a really big trade and the skew changes, right now it's an instantaneous flip. And that's what makes it really hard to do basis trading. So if if you're currently short getting paid and then somebody goes short with really, really big size, you could all of a sudden be paying. And especially with a higher fee, you might not have recouped that fee already. So it makes it kind of dangerous to do in the current under the current system. Now I'm going to give like a high level overview. I don't think I'm really the expert for the absolute nitty gritty details, but there is a great Spartan space out there with a fief. So if you want to find this Spartan space where a fief really goes into detail about this funding rate mechanism, I highly encourage it. It does a great job of explaining it. But basically the way this works is as the skew changes, the funding rate will actually drift. So let's say the funding rate is completely neutral now. Nobody's paying anybody. Somebody goes massively long, it drifts to where the funding rate goes positive. So longs are paying shorts. Now, at some point, let's say we hit a funding rate of 1% per hour. That's very, very high. But just for the sake of the example, say we hit 1% per hour, and now somebody comes in and says, I'm going to arb that funding rate by going and completely undoing the skew, taking it down to zero. Well, now the funding rate freezes at that 1%. So what we've actually done there is created this incentive where the person arbing the skew down knows that they're going to continue to collect that funding rate, as even if the skew goes completely neutral. Now, what this does that's really beneficial is A, it enables people to arb the funding rate, and then B, it allows us to find these natural funding rates that aren't neutral. So when everything's in balance, sometimes assets actually have kind of a like a bias from one side to the other. You could see a lot of funding rates on centralized exchanges for assets that have high inflation, for example. It costs a lot of money to be short. And the reason is because if you have locked tokens, or there's really high inflation or something like this, you might want to go short to hedge. So it's going to cost money to put on that hedge. So with this new funding rate model, it actually allows us to kind of find the market price for what that hedge costs or something like that. And so it makes it way more predictable. And it also allows us to offer more assets, because some of these assets that have a really, really strong bias from one side to the other, we might not have wanted to offer before because it would be a lot of risk on the synthetic stakers. Nobody would take the other side of the trade. Now we can actually offer that because there's actually going to be an incentive to go neutral with that skew.
Oh, that's okay. I'm definitely going to have to go back and watch that Spartan Council that you were talking about. Or was it Spartan Spaces you said?
Yeah, it was the Spartan Spaces podcast.
Yeah.
I wish I could post a link or something like that, but I'm sure if you head into the Synthetics
Yeah.
Discord, if you're curious, just ask
I'm
where's
sure
the
I can
Spartan
find it.
Spaces with a V.
Yeah. I'll have to go and listen to that. Because I mean, you guys are doing just like a bunch of unique things, right? And if I really want to understand it at that nitty gritty level, then I'll go check that out. So I mean, yeah. So lots of benefits, lots of updates here that you guys have going on. Let's see. And then some other things that you guys have launched, right? So your Kwenta token, right, which is currently just serving as a governance token. You guys launched that recently, and that has been kind of an up only chart since after the first 72 hours. But what are the benefits of Kwenta? How does that work for your governance? And then what are you kind of thinking on use cases and the future of that, or of Kwenta itself?
Yeah, well, you're putting me in a terrible spot here because I know I'm going to jinx it if I talk about the price at all, right?
Yeah. Well,
so
yeah. Don't make predictions on the price. That's definitely not what I'm asking you to do.
yeah, let everybody know I have no idea what's going to happen, and in fact, for fun, I love to make price predictions because I'm a trader. That's what I do. I was 100% wrong with how well this launch was going to go. I thought in the depths of the bear market it would go terribly, and this has actually gone wonderfully. So
Yeah.
absolutely don't listen to me. Don't make any investments based on my advice. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But I will say this about the kind of utility of Kwenta. So right now it is a governance token, in the sense that really all you can do with it is stake it in order to get staking rewards, or you can vote with it. And then the other really, really interesting thing you can do is stake it to get trading rewards. Now, I have a blog that's up on the Kwenta blog. So if you go to kwenta.eth.limo right now, one of the tabs at the top, you'll see blog. I think it's the most recent, if not the second most recent blog, is going to be how to earn trading rewards. So if you want a real detailed view, look right there. You must stake Kwenta to earn trading rewards, and then the trading rewards come back to you in the form of Kwenta. So the more you stake and the more you trade, the more Kwenta rewards you earn. And they've actually been pretty juicy lately. I think V1 doesn't have insane volume, right? It's like a few diehard traders who are really dedicated to using V1. I'm one of them. I appreciate all of them. But it's not very diluted, right? So we're actually distributing quite a bit of Kwenta that way, and it's a great time to get in on it, in my opinion. Um, but we're putting aside like a lot of Kwenta for future V2 trading rewards. This system's going to continue. So if you want to earn trading rewards, staking Kwenta is the way to do that, and that's one of the kind of the biggest pieces of utility there. Now, in the future, there is some language in previous governance proposals that hints that eventually 80% of the revenue that Kwenta makes will come back to stakers in some way. Um, Now, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. It would kind of take another governance proposal. So, your guess is as good as mine. I'm not in Kwenta governance. I have no interest in being in Kwenta governance, but that's kind of the goal with revenue, right? Is eventually that revenue needs to help holders or stakers of the Kwenta token in some way. So, right now I think everybody's real focused on growth. I think that's kind of my personal opinion is, who cares about revenue right now? Like I want to see these trading volumes go 100x. That's what I would like. But
Yeah.
That's just kind of my personal opinion. But there is utility plan for the Kwenta token. So if you're worried that this will be a governance token forever or something like that, like some other tokens I won't mention, absolutely not. I think the Kwenta community is kind of determined to follow this model that Synthetics has really pioneered of just delivering as much value as possible back to stakers of the token. So I look forward to kind of seeing that once we have a few more revenue sources.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, and I think the performance of the token since it launched, right, is more indicative of, right, if you think about the stock market as, it's a view of the future, right? It's like a forward, thinking organism. So that's kind of how I view Quinta is, based off the beliefs and the moves that you guys are making. And so, because you guys are, have opened access to a ton of different things. You're incredibly, cheap comparatively. So I do have a question there though. Right, when it comes to the fees, right? So you reduced all these trading fees, but what does that look like when you take into consideration the optimism gas fees as opposed to, like you talked about earlier, Arbitrum gas fees? So you get a fee reduction, but then you're paying like a much larger gas fee. Have you guys looked at any of that, and how that goes into effect for the user?
I will say I'm not 100% on top of what's going on with the optimism gas fees, particularly because lately I haven't had really an issue with them at all. Like I'm paying, I think, on average about 4 or 5 cents per transaction in
Oh, okay,
fees.
that's not
So
bad.
it's
Okay, that's
it's
not terrible.
yeah, I know there are definitely some plans in the works from the optimism team to enable us to bring down fees quite a bit more. But they've really reached the point where for anybody trading with any, reasonable size at all, and we have a $50 minimum at Quenta right now. So
Mm.
anybody really trading with that amount that's getting scared away by, a few cents in fees. You probably got bigger problems. I would love to actually bring enable the trading platform to serve people who are only bringing $4 or $5. But for certain kind of technical limitations, it's actually just not possible at this point. So I would say that if you haven't used Optimism in a little while and you were scared away by fees at one point, I know in the past I've actually paid like $30 for a fee on Optimism, but it's not like that at all anymore. So come check it out. You're going to pay a few cents. Occasionally, gas fees may spike, but in general, it's really just a few cents per trade.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, people were paying $200 in gas fees to buy a JPEG at one point. So, um,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
the
definitely I have
I'm
looked
guilty
at
of
my
the
old
same thing.
transactions. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I have like it's literally 5 figures in fees that I have on my main trading account from Ethereum L1 from a couple of years ago, and um, I am by no means the super rich, so 5 figures is not small to me. It's
Yeah,
crazy to look
I
at.
I feel you. I always tell people if they, when people ask about what my crypto journey was like, I'm just like, why don't you just go back and look at my transaction records in history and you'll know exactly what it was like for me. So, and I paid so much in gas on Ethereum, not understanding what I was doing. But so it's
Oh yeah,
like,
it
I
was
see
a
something
wild
for
time.
5 cents.
Yeah, it was a wild time. Like DeFi summer was a time where you really were rewarded for just spending money stupidly. Um, I don't think the world will ever be like that again, nor should it, right? Like I don't think you should really be able to just make money by um, doing just the stupidest trades or the stupidest transactions possible. Thank God for the Fed ruining all that for everybody, right?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, so totally agree. Okay, so let's get back to a little bit more about about Quinta and everything that you're doing. Um, so what other um, problems did you guys solve here? Right, we've talked about reducing the fees, the funding rates, the range of assets. You made it. It's faster now, right? You got the multiple oracles. What other benefits are there to the users, right?
All
That
right.
aren't just on their face value.
Well, two things here. Number one, I would like to insert a little caveat for traders that are trying Perps V2 kind of immediately after launch. If you want to try it tomorrow, great. I welcome you. It's an alpha release, so a lot of these benefits might be kind of future looking benefits, right? We're not going to have a wide range of assets day one because we actually don't have the Oracle feeds for it yet. So a lot of these Oracle feeds will probably come in January. Expect to be able to trade Ethereum right away. Hopefully, other things as soon as possible. But the kind of wide range of low liquidity assets, it's probably going to take at least a few weeks to get that ready. So be patient with us. The system's in place. Everybody's working on it. But yeah, you may not see kind of the this kind of what's possible. You might not see it right away, right? So that'll be an iterative process. Now, as far as what Perps V2 enables that isn't something I've already gone into, I think I already kind of did a broad view of kind of what Perps V2 does for traders,
Mm-hmm.
like directly on Kwenta anyway. But one really interesting thing that Perps V2 does is actually off Kwenta. So I'm going to throw a little love to some of our partner protocols here and mention DHedge. So DHedge, one of my favorite projects, they've been in the synthetics ecosystem for a long time. And one of the things that they're working on right now is tokenized strategies. So it can go a lot of different ways, but one kind of traditional way everybody might be familiar with is these 2 times and 3 times leverage tokens. Now, the reason Perps V2 is very important for these 2 times and 3 times leverage tokens is because you have to actually rebalance these things. Leverage is dynamic. So as the price goes up or the price goes down, the amount of leverage that you have versus your collateral is actually changing. And if you want a static 2 times or 3 times, every time it changes beyond a certain amount, you have to either buy or sell some underlying asset. Now, if you have very, very high fees, frequent rebalancing is actually pretty much impossible to do. So Perps V2 really enables these types of products, or if they were offered before, it allows them to be offered in a way that's going to be a lot more true to their intention. It'll actually mimic the 2 times or the 3 times leverage a lot closer, and it'll decay a lot less for users. So that's kind of something really exciting. I know our partner protocols are working on. Not even sure if I should be giving you this alpha, to be perfectly honest, but I don't think D-Hedge would mind a little bit of love for this, and I think it's really interesting that they're working on this kind of stuff. Because if you go to Binance, you're going to find the 2 times or 3 times tokens. A lot of people love trading these. It's a very simple thing to trade, and so I'm really excited to see these get brought to DeFi. Now, the other interesting thing that's going to be possible is if you look at our friends at Lyra or Lyra, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Um, what they're doing is they're offering these options vaults. So you can provide liquidity by putting your money in the automated market maker, and you are the liquidity for their options. And they have a delta hedging system, right? So as you become exposed to these assets, they actually go and short the asset to make your exposure neutral um, as far as the actual price of the asset. So they also require frequent rebalancing to do this. And right now, they're doing it in an incredibly capital inefficient way by just using like a natural short. And so Perps V2 will allow them to possibly, I'm not 100% sure when this is going to happen, but I know eventually they'll be able to integrate Perps as a hedging strategy like they've already done on Arbitrum. So that's going to make their hedging strategy like a lot more efficient, a lot cheaper. And you can kind of imagine how if you add all these things up, anybody that wants to build a more complex position using perps as your kind of delta exposure can do so in just a much more cost effective, much more capital efficient way. So whether that's these multi-leg strategy vaults or something like that, I know there's some people, some friends of mine are building this thing called strands, which is multi-leg options positions, and there are a few ways that people have talked about using options in combination with perps to get these really interesting payouts, right? Where you can have essentially leveraged exposure to sideways movement or other kind of interesting things like these that just a single kind of traditional derivative doesn't capture, but you can build with multiple derivatives. So all this kind of stuff becomes possible for builders. And I can't really say exactly what's being built because it's just so wide, right? Like once this kind of stuff hits the market and people are able to work with it, you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff coming out where perps are going to be implemented on the back end of a lot of different vaults and a lot of different strategies.
Man, that's awesome. At first, you don't ever have to apologize for putting alpha out on this server. I really appreciate it. But no, I mean, what you guys are doing is pretty fantastic in the amount of stuff that you're incorporating. So I am excited to see the launch, and and see how it performs and see the things that you guys are able to include. Like you and I talked about previously, is just getting that awareness out there of the potential that falls within using synthetic assets and everything that you're able to build on top of that. And I mean, just seeing what else you guys are working on that you just told us about and how Perps V2 is going to be integrated into all those different positions says a lot about what you're building.
Oh yeah, and this kind of stuff, this excites me a lot. Like obviously I'm working with Kwenta, and so there's a lot of really exciting stuff that we're going to be able to announce that Kwenta is actually doing over the next few months that I know I wish I could announce it right now. I can't. We're going to have some really interesting partners, and we're going to go some really interesting places in the next few months. So definitely don't sleep on Kwenta. But it also just really excites me as a derivative trader to see that even outside of Kwenta, like there's going to be this whole ecosystem on Optimism that's going to be able to utilize this. And the power of a capital efficient delta exposure tool is just, it's so much. It's so incredible that, whether it's on Kwenta or off Kwenta, whether it's our competitors, it doesn't really matter. Like it's all just going to benefit everybody who wants to trade or who wants to build these different positions. It's not all directional trading, right? Like you can hedge using perps, and it's a great way to do it because you don't have to put all kinds of capital up front in order to hedge your position. So it's really just, derivatives. What brought me to the derivative space is just that it's such a flexible tool. You can do anything with it. So a lot of people get stuck in this idea that it's just like, oh, it's leverage, like I can take a higher risk position, but it really does so much more than that. And so I'm just excited to see what everybody does with it. It's going to be a great few months.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. Um, yeah, I would I would ask you some more questions. I said, but I don't really you know have anything to ask you. You spilled so much alpha, so I don't get to ask a couple of the things I was thinking about. But are you cool with some community questions? If anyone in the audience has anything they want to ask?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've just been blabbing for so long. If anybody wants to come up and ask anything or
Yeah,
just talk or whatever,
yeah.
um,
Raise your hand.
yeah, it would be great. I'm looking through the audience here to see if there's anybody I can call out in particular. Not 100% sure who's super outgoing in the audience, but I guess I'll just take this time to thank you for having me on. I know this is a kind of a rough time to be like doing a call and an announcement because we're what are we 1 day from the solstice or something like that. You've got a lot of holidays. A lot of people are off. I'm on holiday right now, sitting drinking wine on the beach, having a great time. Um, and so it's just it's great that we could all kind of get together and chat for a minute. And big thumbs up to everybody who came out to listen to this, and to everybody who's going to go on and actually be the first to try Perps V2 tomorrow. And you know, it's just it's a great little community. It's good to see the support that we get from everybody. A lot of these people that I see in the audience are kind of our mainstays, and happy every time I see them around here.
Yeah, I mean that goes, it goes to show when you have, the same people showing up loyally, and you can look at, just the numbers from your post launch as well, plus the activity of your community can really shows who's behind you and who believes in you and how strong that belief is. Um, which I mean, it's hard not to believe in you guys with the changes that you've made, what you built on top of the caliber of the people that you're connected with, that you guys are building together with says a lot about you. So, yeah, I'm glad you took the time to come up here and be willing to talk to me and let me learn from you as well. You guys are
Well,
doing a lot of great things over there.
I'll tell you what. Since we're probably getting about ready to wrap up, it's been almost an hour here. I'll I got a couple things I can end on. Number one is if you've used Kwenta already, you're probably familiar with our cross margin feature. Um, if you're not familiar, you can actually go onto our Twitter right now, the Kwenta IO Twitter, and there's a little thread on the pin post. It'll tell you all about cross margin and advanced orders. So this won't be available for V2 right away. The reason is because so much stuff's changing in V2 that we can't actually just port it over. So it's going to take a little bit of time to build. Right away, V2 will just be isolated margin. But don't worry if you're looking for limit orders, stop losses, and then this tool that makes it easier for your collateral to kind of interact with different markets without having to manually um, withdraw and deposit. It's coming. It's in the pipeline. So excited to see that coming out. I'm excited to announce dates as soon as I know them, but I don't know any yet. Um, and then beyond that, I wanted to kind of let everybody know that if you want to help out and tell the world about Perps V2, post your own tweets. Want to remind everybody who might have not been here at the beginning of the call, we got a little giveaway going on. I'm going to let DeFi Raiders actually handle the giveaway. So this is kind of all on them to figure out who's posting and who's deserving of 10 Kwenta. But Kwenta's going to supply a little bit of Kwenta for people to post about Perps V2 and that launch, just to make sure everybody's aware of that. And one of the most successful things that I've seen trying to figure out this role as marketing DAO PM is really relying on the community and our mainstays to kind of get the word out. I've actually done trials, tests where I post something on Twitter, right, and then look at how many impressions and how many interactions it gets, and then we'll tag different groups community members and ask them to repost. And when I see that we get community interaction, when some of these very active people are actually pushing that message forward, it's like a night and day difference. It is multitudes more people kind of see what we're doing over here. And so it's really like a really powerful thing. Everybody who's in here, even if it's only 10 people, the amount of reach that we get just from having 10 or 15 people really talking about us is so much more than I could ever get just going to the Kwenta Twitter and posting about what we're doing. Right? Like, I'm very excited, but having multiple excited people is always a very valuable thing. So thank you everybody for showing up. Thank you everybody for being here through like an entire hour of me blabbing. And also Rhoda, Cabernet Sauvignon from Paso Robles. I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful wine.
I'll listen to this recording and then get some for my wife whenever she's able to drink wine again. No, thanks so much for joining us. I mean, honestly, it's a great opportunity just to be able to talk with the people who are building, these systems. And it's like one of those things where people just don't understand it necessarily, right? And that might be the whole reason that they haven't migrated to it yet. And so getting the word out there about the good teams and the good projects is essential. So you got a good community there, and I'm blessed to have been able to talk to you. So thanks so much for your time, and thank you so much for the very generous giveaway too. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you for your work here. Because, I could obviously blab by myself for an hour, but it's great to have somebody kind of keeping me focused, answering questions here. And I really like what you're trying to do. I know we kind of talked leading up to this about what your goal is with DeFi Raiders. And I really appreciate, and what really resonated with me was that you're just into the idea of financial education and kind of making sure that people understand what these tools are, what the benefits are, what the risks are, and how to use them. And I think that's kind of something that's going to be very important for us moving forward, because as like a community of people who are into cryptocurrency, it's probably never going to be just as simple as these kind of legacy tools that we've all grown up with, but that's actually part of the power, right? Is like you get to understand what is happening under the hood with your financial tools. And so education is like the most important part of that. And I'm really glad that you're out here, helping people understand what's happening and what kind of things that they can actually do.
Thanks. Yeah, that really it means a lot. I really appreciate that. After some of the hard lessons that I learned early on, I thought, what better way to help people learn than to talk to the best people and let them get the right messages out and and hear from real builders that aren't just trying to pump their own bags and sneak off with all their own with all their money. So I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. We're really thankful for your time.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, I think we're at about 1 hour. So I'm going to go ahead and go get dinner started. But thanks everybody for coming out. If you have any more questions, comments, concerns, just want to harass me. I have my DMs open here. I have my DMs open on Discord. Most of you probably know that. Anybody who's listening to like a recording, please come and harass me. Burt Rock, message me. If I don't answer, message me again. All right. Totally open for you.
All right. Thanks again. All right, everybody, share the AMA, write a little thread over the next 24 hours. We'll find, the best threads if you've tagged Kwenta.io and tag DeFi Raiders as well, just so we can, keep track of that. And then we'll announce those 10 winners after we go through them after 24 hours. Thanks so much for joining us here. It's really been a blast being able to talk to Berg here about everything they're doing. Really grateful for all of you who spend your time with us and come and learn with us as well. Thanks. I hope you guys have a great holidays. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.